today's lesson is going to be why we squat, hinge, push, and pull. Those are the big four movements that we talk a lot about here in our PARP success programs, and I want to take a minute to go over why we're doing them. The first two lower body moves, the squat and the hinge, are critical, just fundamental human movements. So a squat is generally going to be when you're, think about your butt kind of drops straight down, your knees move a little bit more forward, versus a hinge is going to be based upon your hips going back and coming forward. So a hinge is going to be generally a little bit more hip dominant. A squat is going to be a bit more what we call knee dominant. So these are two really important movements that we really want to address. They both work on your ability to create force through the ground. If you saw in our other video about how to screw your feet into the ground and why we do that, that really kind of gives you an opportunity to practice using the ground and being stable during dynamic movement. They both force you to work on your spinal stiffness and your core stability in order to be able to stabilize your spine and drive movements from your lower body. You have to be able to create spinal stiffness. So it's actually squatting and hinging create great learning opportunities for you to work on these fundamental skills, and more importantly, the way that they the way that they connect to your golf swing is with a squat. Actually, there's been a couple studies that have shown increased vertical leap relative to how you're squatting. And we all know that vertical leap directly correlates to increased club head speed. And if we think about the golf swing and how we swing over in a hinged posture, essentially, it's going to become critical that we become strong and stable in this hinged position so that we're able to rotate and use our hips with more efficiency. For the push and the pull, so if you think of like a bench press or a push-up, and then for the pull, if you think of a bent over row or a pull-up, those are just from developmentally, just from fundamental human movement, critically important just for us to function and move well. From a sport performance standpoint, as it relates to golf, the amount of force that you can create pushing directly is going to impact how much power you can create, which obviously affects your club head speed. And when we talk about a balanced athlete, we don't only want to have very strong push ability, we want to balance that off by also having the appropriate relative percentage to pull. So when you look at your programs and you see pushing, pulling, hinging, and squatting, the reasons why we're doing these are fundamental movement skills as humans, and then they have direct relationships to your performance on the golf course. Squatting is going to help in terms of using the ground, creating ground reaction force, vertical thrust, which is exactly one of the big type of forces you need to create club head speed. Hinging is going to help you to get stronger in that hinged position, with a bent over row, as well as with a deadlift or a kettlebell swing. Also going to work on your hip power and your hip drive, and then also spinal stiffness while we're moving that lower body. And then if we look at pushing and pulling, those also are going to have important relationships to generating more club head speed, being more stable up and through the shoulder area, shoulder girdle, and just your overall general health and ability to play longer, swing faster, and hurt less, because you'll have more resilience throughout your entire body. So hopefully that helps to understand why we do these big four movements. You'll see them in lots of different variations and forms, but what I want you to think about is not muscle groups, but think about movements. So when you're looking at your workouts and you see, what's my knee dominant move this week, what's my hip dominant move this week, my push, my pull, then you're starting to think like a sports scientist, and you're starting to really understand, hey, these are why I'm doing these exercises, because they're practicing a push move or a pull move or a hinge move or a squat or knee dominant move. So hopefully that helps. If you have any other questions in terms of understanding why you're doing anything, as always, email us directly, reach out to us, give us a call. We want you to understand why you're doing every single thing that you're doing.